How to communicate with the universe through consciousness. Most people talk at the universe, wishing, praying, demanding, without ever realizing they've got the signal completely backwards and that the real conversation has been going on the whole time, just beneath the surface of their awareness. The universe isn't a vending machine waiting for the right coin. It's a living, breathing field of consciousness that already knows the soul's deepest desires and has been sending back answers in a language most people were never taught to read. The moment someone genuinely understands that their consciousness isn't inside the universe, it is the universe looking at itself, the entire nature of communication shifts from supplication to co-creation. This isn't a mystical fantasy for dreamers. Quantum physicists at the Allen Institute and Google Quantum AI are now exploring how quantum superposition and consciousness are fundamentally entangled. What follows is the rarest, most practical, most transformative guide to a conversation that will change the trajectory of an entire life. And it starts not with words, but with becoming. Topic 1. The universe is consciousness. Before anyone can genuinely communicate with the universe, they need to radically update their picture of what the universe actually is. The old model, universe as a cold, mechanical collection of rocks, gases, and empty space, is scientifically outdated and spiritually deadening. Modern quantum physics, especially the work around panpsychism, now points towards something that every great mystical tradition has whispered for millennia. Consciousness isn't a byproduct of the universe. It's the fundamental substrate from which reality itself is woven. The universe doesn't contain awareness the way a jar contains water. The universe is awareness, expressing itself in infinite forms, and the human soul is one of those forms. Carl Sagan, one of the most celebrated scientific minds of the 20th century, said it plainly. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself. That statement, heard properly, is one of the most radical declarations in the history of human thought. It means that when someone looks up at the night sky and wonder, the universe is literally gazing at its own reflection. This isn't poetry, it's physics with a spiritual heartbeat. The deeper a person travels into genuine self-knowledge, the more they realize that the boundary between me and the universe is a convention of perception, not an actual wall. The soul and the cosmos are not pen pals exchanging letters across a vast distance. They're the same author, writing the same story from two seemingly different hands. In practical terms, this realization needs to land not just intellectually, but experientially, and that requires practice. A powerful starting point is the daily exercise of consciousness expansion, sitting quietly, closing the eyes, and deliberately expanding awareness beyond the body, past the walls of the room, past the city, past the planet, past the solar system, as taught by Dr. Joe Dispenza in Becoming Supernatural. This isn't imagination for entertainment. It's training the nervous system to recognize what's already true. The person who does this consistently for 21 days will notice something profound beginning to shift in their daily reality. A growing sense of spiritual presence, a heightened intuition, and a quiet but undeniable feeling that the universe is not just listening, but actively responding. And that response has a very specific language, a language worth learning. Topic 2. The language the universe speaks. Here's the thing that trips most people up. They keep trying to communicate with the universe in words, and the universe doesn't primarily speak in words. Words are one of the densest, most compressed ways to transmit information. Wonderful for human conversation, but remarkably inefficient as cosmic signal. The universe operates primarily in the language of energy, frequency, and vibration, a fact that the physicist Nikola Tesla identified decades before mainstream science was ready to hear it. When someone is genuinely joyful, genuinely grateful, genuinely at peace, they're not just feeling those things. They're broadcasting them as measurable electromagnetic frequencies that ripple outward through the field of consciousness. This is the core operating principle behind what many spiritual traditions call the law of resonance, and what quantum physicists describe as quantum entanglement. Like frequencies attract like frequencies. The universe doesn't respond to what someone says they want. It responds to the vibration they're consistently living. A person who repeats affirmations about abundance while simultaneously radiating a deep, unconscious belief in scarcity is sending a split signal, and split signals produce confused results. Think of it like trying to tune a radio while someone else keeps changing the dial. The personal development work of clearing those subconscious contradictions isn't a luxury. It's the foundational engineering of clear cosmic communication. Masaru Emoto's famous water crystal experiments, where water exposed to loving words formed beautiful crystalline structures, while water exposed to hateful words formed broken, distorted ones, offer a striking metaphor here, one that has generated enormous scientific debate. Whatever the final verdict on that research, the broader principle is echoed in cutting-edge work. Consciousness shapes material reality in measurable ways. The practical implication is extraordinary. Every habitual thought, every emotion held for more than 17 seconds, every story told about life is a transmission. It's a broadcast. The universe receives everything, not just what's intended to send. Which raises an urgent and beautiful question. What exactly is being broadcast right now, in this moment, from the depths of a soul most people have never fully met? Topic 3. Silence as the sacred channel. One of the great ironies of spiritual life is that the most powerful form of communication with the universe is not speaking, it's stopping. In a world addicted to noise, to stimulation, to the endless scroll of digital life, genuine silence has become one of the rarest and most radical acts a person can choose. And yet every authentic spiritual tradition on earth, from the Zen Buddhist sitting zazen to the Christian contemplative in silent prayer, from the Vedantic sage in deep samadhi to the Sufi mystic lost in dhikr, points to the same experience. In deep silence, the universe speaks. Not in dramatic thunderbolts or burning bushes, but in a still, luminous recognition that feels more real than anything words have ever communicated. The practice of meditation is not merely relaxation, not merely stress management, though it delivers both. It is the deliberate art of clearing the static so the signal comes through. When the mind finally settles below the incessant chatter of planning, worrying, judging, and analyzing, what remains is pure consciousness, the same field of awareness that underlies every particle in the universe. Scientists at Allen Institute now have data suggesting that this collapse into quiet awareness may correspond to quantum processes in the brain's microtubules, where consciousness momentarily expands beyond the boundaries of personal identity. In the language of spirituality, this is the moment of genuine contact, the soul recognizing itself as part of the universe rather than a visitor within it. For anyone wanting to develop this channel practically, the prescription is radically simple and devastatingly underused. Begin with 10 minutes of silent meditation each morning, not guided meditation with music and pleasant voices, but genuine silence. No phone, no sound, no agenda. The Waking Up app by Sam Harris is a masterful guide through the early stages, offering a rigorous, non-dogmatic approach to navigating the inner terrain. Within 2 weeks of consistent practice, most people report something they weren't expecting. The universe begins to communicate back in the form of spontaneous insights, inexplicable moments of clarity, and a growing ability to sense the rightness or wrongness of situations before the analytical mind can explain why. This is the inner GPS coming online, and what it navigates toward is the soul's deepest calling. Topic 4. Synchronicities. Cosmic confirmation. Carl Jung spent decades documenting what he called synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that carry no causal relationship but feel charged with an unmistakable significance. A person thinks of an old friend and receives a call from them seconds later. They ask the universe a question and open a random book to find the exact answer. They're considering a major life decision and stumble across an article, a conversation, or a street sign that seems to speak directly to the crossroads they're facing. These aren't accidents. In the framework of consciousness as a unified field, synchronicities are the universe's most elegant form of direct communication. Bespoke messages delivered with perfect timing to an awareness that has become tuned enough to receive them. The critical word there is tuned. Synchronicities don't increase because life gets more magical. They increase because awareness gets more refined. A person who is fully absorbed in mental noise, scrolling through distractions and numbed by routine won't notice the synchronicities even when they're abundant. It's not that the universe stops sending, it's that the receiver is off. The spiritual awakening process at its core is in large part the gradual opening of this perceptual capacity, the development of what could be called spiritual vision, the ability to see meaning in patterns, energy in events, and messages in what the ordinary mind dismisses as coincidence. When this vision opens, ordinary life becomes a conversation. The practical way to develop synchronicity awareness is through what might be called a signs journal. Every evening before sleep, write down any event of the day that felt unusually meaningful, a repeated number, an unexpected encounter, a book that fell off a shelf, a sentence in a podcast that landed with disproportionate weight. Do this for 30 days. The pattern that emerges will be astonishing. Reading The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, a novel built entirely around the experience of escalating synchronicities, can also rewire the reader's perceptual habits in ways that are surprisingly practical. Once someone truly begins to read the language of synchronicities, the universe stops feeling like a place they live in and starts feeling like an intelligence they're in conversation with, one that has been speaking all along. Topic 5. Intentions. Sending the signal. If silence is the act of receiving, intention is the art of transmitting. And most people are transmitting constantly without any awareness of what they're actually sending. An intention is not the same as a wish. A wish is something the mind wants while simultaneously doubting it will happen. An intention is something the entire being, mind, body, energy field, and soul aligns around as an already chosen reality. The difference in transmission quality between the two is extraordinary. A wish sends a faint, conflicted signal. A genuine intention sends a coherent, powerful pulse that the universe receives as a clear invitation. This is the mechanism behind what Napoleon Hill described in Think and Grow Rich as definiteness of purpose, the single most important factor he identified in the lives of the 500 most successful people of his era. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools for building intention into the body, not just the mind. The key insight, consistently missed by people who try visualization and give up, is that it's not about picturing what one wants like a mental movie. It's about feeling the reality of the desired outcome with enough intensity that the nervous system can't distinguish between imagination and memory. Dr. Joe Dispenza has documented cases of people healing chronic conditions through this practice alone, using brain scans and heart coherence measurements to track the physiological changes. When the body responds to an imagined future as though it's already real, the energetic broadcast changes, and so does the universe's response. The morning ritual of conscious intention setting is one of the highest return investments anyone can make in their spiritual development. The process. After the morning meditation with the mind still quiet and receptive, write 3 things. First, what one is choosing to experience today, not to achieve, but to experience. Joy, connection, clarity, ease. Second, who one is choosing to be today, the qualities they're calling into expression. Third, one specific action aligned with the soul's deeper calling. This 3-step transmitter, practiced daily, creates what the mystical traditions call alignment, a state where the inner life and outer reality begin to move in the same direction. And when that alignment deepens far enough, something extraordinary becomes available. The experience of what the Taoists call wu wei, effortless action in perfect flow with the universe.